Welcome back. Now let's look at paper 21 of May-June 2023. And as always, as well as watching this video, I will also recommend checking the mark scheme, just to see what additional answers they also give. And of course, if the video is too slow, then you can watch at 1.25 or 1.5 times the speed. Okay, question 1, it says a programmer has written a program which includes the function calculate. When the program is run, the function returns an unexpected value. Right, describe how a typical integrated development environment or IDE could be used to help debug the program to find errors in the function calculate. Right, so here then, I guess what we can mention, we can set breakpoints, and then of course, while the code will execute until that breakpoint, right, when it hits the breakpoint, then it's going to pause. And of course, at this point, then we can, check the contents of the variables, in the report window. Of course, make sure everything looks okay, or if it doesn't look okay, try to find out the reason why. And then of course, we can also single step as well. Okay, just execute statement by statement. Now, I mean, if you've not done that, then of course, what I would suggest, right, try. I guess just try using breakpoints, in whatever IDE you're using. So let's just write that. Let's say breakpoints. Right, maybe breakpoints can be let's say added. Maybe at various parts of the function. I guess various lines or statements. Various lines in the function. To pause execution. Let's say to pause execution at these points. Right, let's say the programmer can then inspect the variable contents in the report window. Right, so the programmer, can then, let's say inspect, the variable contents, let's say, the variable contents at this point. Let's say in the report window. Let's say why, right? Okay, so to, I guess ensure, let's say to try to spot the error, or try to, I don't know, I guess obviously to sort of make sure everything looks okay, or make sure the values seem okay, or let's say to try to determine, if the values are sort of okay or not, or let's say if the values look okay. Let's say single stepping. Single stepping can also be used. And let's say to execute statements, or I guess to execute one line at a time. And again let's say again, again the programmer, or let's say can inspect the report window contents to try to find out what line causes the error. I think that's a good way to put it. Right, so the programmer can inspect, or let's say inspect the report window contents, to try to find, let's say the line that's causing the error. Okay, so and again, when it says 4 marks, I mean, I would say, go through your answer and, think what they're probably going to award marks for. So I think, breakpoints, they should probably say 1. Maybe pause execution, they might say. If we say, inspect the variables in the report window, that should be another 1. Single stepping should be another 1. And then again, probably some of these descriptions, or some of this explanation, right? That should also hopefully be another mark. Right, the algorithm for your function calculate contains 3 pseudocode statements shown. Describe the error in each statement, or write no error if the statement contains no error. Right, assume any variables used are of the correct type for the given function. The first one then, string to num. Now, if you don't know what these functions are doing, then of course you can check the insert. But string to num, as it suggests, it's going to take a numeric string, then it's going to convert to a number. So the problem with this though is that here we have the string 27, But if we actually look at these brackets, well, here is an opening bracket, here is a closing bracket. But then we're going to do the +2, right? And then what string to num is going to be of this whole thing. So basically our problem is that, well, this, right, either this bracket should be here, and of course, right, then it would work. And yeah, like, well, of course, to be honest, right, you only need one set of brackets here. You actually don't need two sets of brackets. So yeah, we can say, well, we've got a misplaced bracket, right? Or we can say that we can't do a string plus an integer. So yeah, I think let's say that. All right, okay, well, let's say, right, misplaced bracket. Or, all right, well, okay, let's be more specific, right? Let's say a misplaced closing bracket. And let's say, why this causes a problem. Right, so can't, I guess, yeah, can add, right, a string, yeah, with an integer. Alright, then the next one, so, right, this does string to num, and then inside is going to be mid, right, this string, well, 4 and 2. So mid, we should know, well, this then is the starting position, so here we're starting on character 4, right, then we're getting 2 characters, so in this case, well, that's going to be the character 17. Because we think, well, obviously, yeah, C is character 1, P is 2, right, E is 3, 1 is 4. And then, yeah, okay, well, so then what it's going to do, right, this string, sorry, yeah, this mid, right, this mid is going to return the string 17. But, right, then we have string to num of 17. Right, well, that's going to return the integer, yeah, 17. So here, well, there's actually no error. So, yeah, let's just write that. Right, then the next one, if month this date is greater than 6, well, I guess month, of course, that's just going to return the month, right, in this particular date. So let's say if the date was, I don't know, like 01, let's say 05, I don't know, maybe like 2024. Well, in this case, right, this is going to return 5, since, of course, yeah, 5 is the month in this date. Now, obviously, right, this is going to be an integer. Well, yeah, the whole thing, right, this, month, this date. Right, month is going to return an integer. But yeah, of course, right, this is a character. So let's say what can't, yeah, I guess what can't compare, let's say can't compare integers with characters. Yeah, or let's say can't compare right, integers with a character. And all right, probably let's actually explain that a little bit more. And okay, we could say, I guess what month, yeah, month would return an integer. Right, yeah, month would return an integer. Yeah, which I guess, I know, let's say, right, which can't be compared, right, with characters. Yeah, that's kind of what we want to say. Okay, the program contains variables with values as follows, where active is true, 0.75, and exempt is false. We want to complete the complete the table by evaluating each expression. Right, so points greater than 99, well, that's 75, right, 75 greater than 99, of course, this is going to be false. Alright, then we go or, but we see where active is true. So, of course, well, false or true, alright, that's going to be true. Right, the next one, so points mod 2, well, 75 mod 2 is going to be 1, so 1 equals 0, of course, this is going to be false. Right, then what exempt, okay, this is also false, right, if we look here. So, right, of course, yeah, false or false is going to be false. Right, points points less than or equal to 75, well, that's true because we see what points is 75. Right, yeah, and active or exempt. So, of course, what active is true, right, exempt is false, right, therefore true or false is going to be true. So here, what true and true, okay, yeah, that's going to be true. Right, then the final one, so active or not active. Now, if we if we have active or not active, again, this is always going to be true, because let's say we have something that's obviously binary, right? There's only two possible options, right? Either, yeah, true or false. So, this is kind of like saying, well, it's, I guess it's like saying, right, it's raining, right, or it's not raining. Well, of course, one of them is going to be true, because if it's raining, well, then obviously that part's true. Yeah, of course, well, like, I guess if it's sunny, right, well, then, of course, right, the not raining part is going to be true. So, yeah, okay, yeah, if we have sort of, well, let's say like A, right, or not A, right, that's always going to equal 1. Right, and then and not exempt. So, right, if exempt is false, right, therefore not exempt is going to be true. So again, right, this is also going to be true. Yeah, okay, alright, so I think that's correct. Right, then we want to write expression 4 from the table part ci in its simplest form. Right, so here then we can think, well, I mean, since this is always true, if we, I mean, it's basically saying, well, true and then I guess, yeah, whatever not exempt is. So since this is always true, you know, we can just ignore this really. Right, therefore our simplified expression is just going to be not exempt. Yeah, I mean, hopefully that makes sense, right? Because obviously, I mean, like, if this is always true, like, and you know, I mean, and kind of operates almost like multiplication, where if we have, well, 1, and of course, when I say 1, I mean true. So let's say, you know, 1 and x. Well, of course, I mean, right, that's just going to equal x, right? Whatever this is. Yeah, that's why it's not exempt. Right, okay, then 2, a program contains an algorithm to output a string of a specified length containing identical characters. The algorithm is described as follows: prompt and input a character and store in mychar, prompt and input an integer, right, and store in mycount. Right, generate a string consisting of mychar repeated mycount times, then we want to output the string. Okay, so first then, I mean, probably, well, since it says prompt, I mean, let's just have an output, and sometimes they actually do, you know, combine this into the input statement. But yeah, I think I'm going to have output here. Right, so I'm probably not going to have enough space, you know, to write it on this tablet. So what should we say? Maybe enter, yeah, I guess what, like enter character. Yeah, and of course, you know, in the exam, right, make sure to draw it big enough. Right, then we just want to go what input, yeah, I guess what input mychar. And of course, yeah, I mean, make sure, I mean, what input output should be parallelograms like this. Yeah, I mean, this one looks a little bit like a rectangle, to be honest. Right, so input, yeah, that's going to be into mychar. Right, then there's going to be, right, so what, another output and input. And again, hang on, there we go. Yeah, I think this is where, okay, right, to be honest, I'm actually just going to do it like this. Now, sometimes they seem to have this, sometimes they don't. But yeah, I think for flowcharts, yeah, I think for flowcharts, right, they sometimes just do it, you know, sort of both in the same statement. So first then for the input is going to be, I guess what, I don't know, yeah, enter, right, times to repeat. Or yeah, I guess enter number of times to repeat. Right, then the second argument, that's going to be, right, mycount, or of course just the variable which we're storing this in. Right, then we want to generate a string consisting of mychar repeated mycount times. So I guess let's just declare, and I mean, well, to declare, I think we can just go set. Right, so this is going to be a process, right, just a rectangle. Right, let's make it big letters. Let's go, I know, well, let's call it like my string. Yeah, just, you know, keeping the sort of format. Right, let's go 2, and well, just an empty string. Okay, and I guess, yeah, I mean, so, well, since we're doing a for loop, you know, we can have, I guess, what, an index. I did notice, actually, in the mark scheme, so, well, yeah, I think I remember doing this one before. Like, in the mark scheme, well, they actually just decrement this, yeah, they just decrement this mycount, and of course, just continue looping, while it's sort of, you know, I guess, yeah, sort of greater than or equal to 1. So I mean, you can do it like that, but I'm going to do it similar to how I would actually code it. And coding, well, I would just loop, right, until the index equals mycount. So let's actually declare another variable. And of course, I mean, again, you know, this is why I say, right, of course, yeah, you can watch the video, but also check the mark scheme as well, right, just see how they do it. Right, so let's set index to, well, let's go to 1. Yeah, just like a simple for loop. And then what we want to do then, so we want to have well, obviously a decision, right? Decision just means loop. Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, decision just means, you know, decision. But of course, we can use the decision in order to loop, right? I mean, yeah, while this condition is true. So, right, let's go, yeah, is, and this will be what index is less than or equal to, right, mycount. Okay, right hand, yeah, less than or equal to mycount. Right, so if this is true, right here, I mean here, yeah, let's go yes. And then I guess here, well, yeah, let's just say no. Right, so if it's true, what do we want to do? We just want to concatenate to my string, and we then just want to increment index. So in order to concatenate, well, it's just going to be set. Right, so set, right, let's go my string, right, 2, and let's go my string, and then I guess to concatenate is going to be the ampersand. So I'm not really sure how you draw that. Yeah, I guess something like that. Yeah, just an 8 with a kind of, tail on the side. Right, then we want to go my char. And again, yeah, let's just extend that out. Right, and I mean, as you can see, probably it's better to actually write the text, right, then draw the box around it after. Right, of course, well, then we just want to increment, so let's go set, and this is going to be what index, right, 2 index plus 1. Yeah, let's draw the box this time. Okay, and then what we want to do here then is we want to loop back, right, to here. Yeah, obviously, just right in the loop. Right, so if it's not, right, if the index is not less than or equal to my count, right, then we go no, and what do we want to do? Okay, we just want to output the string. So to be honest, right, I should probably write no by the side here like this. And then, right, I mean here, well, let's go output. And this is going to be, what, my string. And yeah, obviously, let's try to make this a parallelogram. Alright, and then obviously, well, let's just connect it with the end. Okay, then a different part of the program uses the variable start date. Write pseudocode statements to declare start date and assign it to the assign to it the date corresponding right to this date. Right, so to declare then, well, of course, right, that's just going to be declare. Right, so the name, or yeah, the identifier is going to be start date, and then right, the data type. So yeah, let's have the colon here. Right, so the data type is just going to be date. Now the assignment, I mean, usually they do let you just sort of assign it, I guess, yeah, just assign it as a literal value like this. However, if you do look right in the, yeah, I guess in the insert, okay, they do actually also have this set date function, and that's going to take, well, obviously, yeah, day, month, year, right, in this order, and it's going to return a date object, right, from this. So I think, yeah, let's just use that one here. So what we want to do, we want to go start date, and of course, this is why it's good to be familiar, right, with the insert. Because I mean, I think, well, yeah, okay, I think the insert has been the same every single year. Like, I don't think they've ever changed it, because of course, the functions they use are the ones that are in the pseudocode guide, right? That's why, of course, if you're familiar with it beforehand, well, then you're not going to waste time in the exam, looking through the insert, right, trying to find the right function to use. Right, so start date, okay, right, then this is going to be equal to set date. And then we say, well, it's going to be day first, so 15, right, then comma, right, so the second argument, right, second parameter. And then, of course, right, 2005, yeah, so just like that. Right, then customers collect points every time they make a purchase at a store. A program is used to manage the point system, and the table lists some of the information stored for one customer. Right, so, well, name is going to be a string, number of points collected integer, and date of birth is date. Right, identify a suitable structure for storing the information for one customer. Explain the advantage of using this structure. Right, so the structure, well, is going to be a record. And then the advantage, well, we can store, okay, let's say what we can store, multiple variables or multiple values, right, of different data types, and we can access them all, all by the same identifier. Because of course, right, I don't know what this would be, like customer or something probably. Yeah, I guess customer. And then of course you can do, I don't know, maybe like, well, of course, yeah, you sort of declare it, right, give them a name. And then of course you do, I don't know, maybe like, yeah, customer, right, dot name, for example. Yeah, just to access this. Right, so the advantage, I guess what we can store. Right, so let's say, right, we can store multiple, right, let's say, well, multiple variables. Yeah, I think here, we can also call it a property. Right, let's say, yeah, multiple variable, right, slash properties, or yeah, brackets properties. Right, let's say, yeah, of different data types. Right, and let's say, yeah, and easily access them via a single identifier, like, for example, customer, right, and then, yeah, obviously dot, and then the property. Different data types, right, yeah, let's say, okay, and easily access them. Right, yeah, via a single identifier. Right, identifier. And of course, you know, when we say identify, I mean, well, basically just this just means name, right? So obviously, yeah, in this case, the sort of type name, right, the variable name. And I guess we can explain that, right? Yeah, this keeps code organized and easy to understand. Yeah, okay, well, let's say this keeps code organized. Or let's say, yeah, organized, easy to understand. Yeah, and kind of limits the number of different variables we need. Yeah, or kind of prevents us having, you know, huge numbers of different variables, basically. Or let's say, yeah, limits the number of variables. Yeah, I guess what that can, you know, cluster up the code. Yeah, I mean, so I'm trying to think, right, is there anything I can write just for this final line? I mean, you could mention that it's also going to be easy to loop through. So, right, let's say this, right, yeah, if storing, right, yeah, if storing like multiple customers, or I guess, yeah, if requiring, yeah, okay, right, let's say, yeah, if storing multiple customers, right, let's say we can create an array of records. Right, we can create, yeah, an array of records. Right, let's say, yeah, and easily loop through them. Yeah, let's say, right, loop through, right, them. And I guess we can say, what, based on an index. Yeah, so I think that should be okay. Right, then describe a data structure that could be used to store the information for all customers. Right, so, right, okay, I mean, this is what we just said, right? So let's say, what, array of records. Or yeah, I guess we can say, what, array of customer records. Now I'm just going to put customer in brackets. Because obviously, like in this case, you know, probably we're going to call it customer. Okay, customers receive points depending on the amount they spend. The number of points depends on the band that the amount falls into. Right, so if it's band 1, that's spending less than $10, and they're going to get 5 points per whole dollars. And of course, well, between 10 and 100 inclusive, right, 7 points. And then what over 100 is 10 points per whole dollar. Okay, for example, if the amount is 99.77, then this amount is in band 2. Therefore, the number of points is 7 times 99. Because if we see what it says, right, per whole dollar, right, therefore, of course, we're having to round down. Yeah, and of course, right, that's going to be I guess, the sort of multiplication. Right, the algorithm to calculate the points from a given amount is expressed as follows. Work out the appropriate band and calculate and output the number of points. Apply the process of stepwise refinement to increase the detail of the algorithm. Right, structure your algorithm into a sequence of 5 steps that could be used to produce pseudocode. So, I mean, honestly, like these questions I kind of hate because, I mean, it's kind of difficult to get exactly 5 steps, you know, I mean, like, well, I mean, yeah, of course, you know, sometimes you'll only have 4 steps, right, I mean, you know, sometimes you might have 6 steps, although, of course, you know, if you have more steps, well, that's okay, right, you can just sort of combine 2 of them together. But yeah, I mean, let's try and think, so, well, maybe first they want us to input. I mean, it doesn't really specify, right? Maybe it's a parameter, maybe they want us to input. And here, like, I'm just going to write a quick plan of, you know, the 5 steps. Yeah, because I mean, otherwise, you know, I'll probably only have 3, for example. Right, I guess, yeah, so I think input. I mean, what then you kind of say, like, have an if statement. Yeah, obviously, what the if statement to, you know, work out which band it's in. Right, then I guess we want to. I mean, what obviously you're going to say what sort of round down. So yeah, let's see what round, or yeah, round the amount down. Because if we see, right, let's say 99.77, right, again, we're only taking the whole part, okay, so we're rounding down. And then I guess what we can then say, maybe calculate, so I guess what, multiply, and then yeah, maybe just output like this. So like, I'm hoping that's going to be the 5 steps. I mean, yeah, let's just try and write those. Right, hang on, let's try and click, okay, there we go. Right, let's say, yeah, I don't know, maybe prompt. Right, prompt the user, right, to enter, right, the, I guess what the amount spent. And right, I'm probably going to put, right, slash, I guess, right, let's say, yeah, or, I don't know, maybe yeah, take this value as a parameter or something, or yeah, okay, I think that's fine. All right, take this value. Right, let's say yeah, from an array. Right, let's say yeah, from an array. Right, I mean slash yeah, a parameter. Because well, of course, you know, this could be again, like we said, right, an array of customers, for example. Right, then we want to have the if statement. So let's say, I mean, yeah, maybe use, yeah, I guess what I use an if statement. Yeah, or we could say, or let's say, yeah, use, let's say nested if statements. Right, yeah, all right, nested if statements, right, to determine. Right, let's say, yeah, if, well, let's say, is it amount? Yeah, right, amount spent. Right, amount spent is, right, let's say what, hang on, right, let's say what, less than 10. Yeah, okay, right, less than 10. What this is going to be, what greater than or equal to 10. Yeah, well, let's say what, and what less than or equal to 100. Yeah, and then what, I guess, yeah, or sort of greater than 100. And of course, right, I mean, yeah, you know, these are going to be sort of together, these ones. Yeah, I think that's okay. Right, then we can say round. Right, let's say yeah, round. Right, round the amount down. Right, to only, or let's say to only get, right, the integer part of the number. And I think we can give an example. Right, let's say yeah, e.g. Right, well, 99.7. Right, to, I guess, 99, or obviously rounds down to 99. Right, then we just multiply, so we multiply, well, or let's say, yeah, multiply and assign this, you know, to the sort of points variable. Right, multiply the, what the, okay, well, let's say rounded amount, because obviously it's not the original amount. Right, multiply the rounded, right, amount, right, by the points. Right, by the points, yeah, for that bracket. Right, and yeah, I guess, I don't know, assigned to a, you know, total points variable. Yeah, I think that's fine, right, just assigned to a variable. Or yeah, I guess we can say like a, I don't know, a total points variable. Since, you know, here we're going to have to say output this total points variable. Right, yeah, so output total points variable. Okay, so I think that should be okay. Right, then number 4, function replace will take 3 parameters, a string, which is, well, the original string. Right, well, then 2 characters, so the original character and a new character. It's going to form a new string from the original string where all instances of the original character are replaced by the new character. Right, then it's going to return the new string, and we want to write pseudocode for replace. Alright, so, well, I mean, this is obviously just a simple, you know, string replace. Like, what they're asking basically is, let's say we have, I don't know, well, let's say hello. Yeah, it's just a simple example. And let's say what we want to replace L with, I don't know, like maybe T or something. So, of course, well, that's going to go what to, you know, this, I guess. Yeah, I mean, so hopefully people understand what we have to do here. Okay, I've just opened it on the site, so let's go function and we'll go replace. Right, this is going to take what the old string, or well, I think right here, let's call it original string. Right, then they say, right, the original character. Right, then they say, right, new character. And yeah, okay, let's make those both, well, chars. Right, and of course here, well, let's go returns, and of course the return type is going to be a string. Right, I'm just going to get end function so I don't forget. Now, let's think what we need to declare. One, I guess, is going to be the new string, okay, which we're going to be concatenating to. I think then we also want, well, we're going to want an index because we'll need a for loop. And what we can do is, well, we can loop through, obviously, yeah, from character 1 right to the end, right, looping through character by character. And then what we would say is, well, if the current character is equal, right, to this original character, well, then we're just going to get, you know, the current string, right, and sort of concatenate with the new character, right? So, of course, what that's doing is saying, well, if the current character is the original character, right, yeah, then we're going to add the new character to the string instead, right? We're going to replace it. Right, I guess, well, if it's not, then we're just going to keep the original, or I guess, well, yeah, keep the current character. Right, so let's just go declare, right, and we said index. Right, of course, right, that's going to be an integer, not a string. And then, yeah, okay, let's also declare current character. Right, and then, well, think about initializing them. So I guess, well, new string, let's initialize that with an empty string. Current char, we don't need to initialize since, well, we're going to get that, right, when we call the mid. Yeah, the mid function. Right, so let's go for index can be 1. And, right, let's go 2, and this will be length of, right, original string. Right, then inside here, I guess we can go, what, current character. So, right, this is going to be mid. And in order to get the current character, I mean, hopefully people know this by now. Okay, right, so, right, yeah, we go the string that we, of course, want to extract from. Right, then we have the current, well, I guess the position we're starting at, right, that's going to be the index position. Then the number of characters we want to get is just 1, okay, because, well, of course, we're just getting 1 character at a time. Right, then let's have an if statement. So we say if current character is equal to the original character. Right, then what we want to do, well, okay, right, not new char. Right, let's go new string. Right, so we want to assign new string, right, to be, well, new string. Of course, right, this keeps it the same, right, but then we're also going to concatenate, and this will be what the new character. Right, then let's have an else, and I guess in this case, well, again, of course, right, it's going to be new string, right, yeah, assign it new string, and then well, this will be the current character, right, I mean, you know, just to make sure it doesn't change. Yeah, well, of course, you know, just keeping the character the same, right, I mean, yeah, not changing it. Right, okay, let's go, hang on then, right, let's go next, and that's going to be next index. And, you know, I think a common mistake people might make is they might think, well, this is going to be old character instead. But the thing is, if, okay, right, not old character, right, the, original character. But of course, well, I mean, okay, well, let's just call it, I mean, I've not done the return statement yet, but let's say if we go replace, right, let's say hello, as mentioned. Right, let's say we want to replace L, and we want to replace that with T. Now, if we always replaced with the original character, well, what that's going to do is, of course, it's just going to set everything to L, right? Like, yeah, obviously, if it's not the original character. So I guess in this case, what we would say H, right? I mean, yeah, since H is not the original character, you know, then H will get replaced with L. And in fact, well, let's just test it, right, just to see what happens. Right, so here then we want to go return, and that's going to be, right, okay, new string. And yeah, let's see that. Yeah, so here, like, if we replace with the original character, right, of course it is going to replace, yeah, like all of these that aren't the original character, well, yeah, with L, right, with the original character. So here, this is why we want the current char instead. And then, yeah, of course, right here we can see now this is working. Alright, and then, okay, 5. So several companies are developing websites to market a new type of games console. The company that is first to create a website that can demonstrate the interactive features of the games console will have an advantage over the others. The requirements for the website are likely to change as more information about the features of the console are made available. Right, one company has decided to develop their website using a program development lifecycle based on the waterfall model. Give 2 reasons why this may not be the most appropriate model to use in this case. Okay, so what here then they're saying, right, they're saying what they want to be first, and hang on. Yeah, so obviously it's going to be important speed. Now, if we think, you know, waterfall is quite slow, because, well, of course, right, if we think of the 5 different things, and for me, I remember what A, D, C, T, M. So of course, right, A, that's analysis, right, D, design, yeah, coding, testing, and maintenance. Now the thing is, you know, first we have to do all of the design. All of the analysis. Right, of course, right, then we do all of the design, right, yeah, then all of the coding, then all of the testing, then all of the maintenance. So this is actually going to be quite slow, because of course, you know, you have to wait for the entire previous, previous stage to be complete before you can, you know, start your stage. Right, so yeah, let's say that, I guess, well, yeah, waterfall is slow, or yeah, waterfall model is slow. Right, let's say since, and I guess, yeah, previous stage, right, has to be fully complete. Right, fully complete. Yeah, I guess what before we can, you know, move on to the next stage. Yeah, alright, let's see, yeah, before the next stage can be started. Yeah, and I don't know, like maybe you could sort of relate that back to, of course, well, they want to be first, right, to have the competitive advantage. Right, then reason two. So I think another problem is that, well, let's say if there's a problem, like, okay, I don't know, like, let's say maybe you get to the coding stage and you realize that, I don't know, there's been some, sort of problem with the requirements or problem with the design, right? And of course, therefore this solution is actually not going to work, right? Then what you have to do is, well, of course, you then have to go back to, say, the analysis stage, right? If there's been a problem there, of course, yeah, you need to then, fix the analysis, right? Then you need to go to the design, right? Of course, fix the design, right? Of course, yeah, then go to the coding. Yeah, obviously try to fix the coding. So it's kind of quite inflexible, right? If there's a mistake at a later stage. So yeah, let's say that, right? If a mistake or maybe, well, not a mistake. Let's say if an issue, right, is found at a later stage. Yeah, then I guess what it might. Yeah, obviously what we can say then, we have to go back to previous stages. Right, we have to go back to previous stages, right, to fix it. And again, I mean, obviously, yeah, this is kind of, again, it's just saying what is slow. Yeah, I know, right, slow and inflexible. I mean, I'd say, for this one again, right, check what the mark scheme says. Yeah, see what reasons they give. Like, you could also mention that. I mean, really, waterfall. It's mostly used, let's say, for I don't know, like safety critical, right, complex projects. Like things where you want to be like 100% sure. Well, yeah, of course, you want to make a really detailed analysis, right? Then you want to make, sort of detailed design, right? Then code it. Whereas if you're just trying to make something quickly and fix the errors as you go along, well, of course, yeah, then you can use what the rapid application development, yeah, or even iterative model. But yeah, I think waterfall is generally for sort of bigger, more complex, yeah, maybe some sort of government project, right? Something that you sort of yeah, I guess have to be more sure is going to work. Since well, I guess you can say, right, since it's a more formal development model. Right, but here then we want to identify a more appropriate program development lifecycle model for this scenario. So I mean, well, we could say rapid application development. Yeah, so the company that's first to create a website that can demonstrate. Yeah, I think, yeah, probably. I mean, since again, right here, they only need to demonstrate. Like, they don't necessarily need a, completely finished, like, perfectly working. Yeah, so I think, right, let's say rapid application development. Although I think you can also say iterative here. Right, so that's going to be what RAD. Okay, yeah, RAD. Okay, the website has been running in test mode for several weeks. Identify and describe a final stage of testing that should take place before the website is made available to all customers. Right, so if, okay, let's say if we've got a private product, or I guess what okay, let's say bespoke product. So when we say bespoke, well, this means that you've got, let's say, one customer or one company, right, that has actually paid you to make this. So I don't know, maybe you're like a, well, let's give their example, right, website design. Now, if someone has paid you, right, to make them a website, right, then that would be bespoke because, well, I mean, basically, right, you've only got like one customer, right, I mean, one client who's paying you. If you're just making for, software, and of course, right, in bespoke, well, then you're going to use acceptance testing. And acceptance testing is where, well, basically, I mean, you just give them the final product, and of course, they then check it themselves, right, if they think it's good enough, well, yeah, I guess, well, of course, right, they just accept it, yeah, they sort of, sign to finalize the contract. Yeah, of course, right, if it's not good enough, right, they're then going to say, well, hey, right, yeah, this doesn't work, or you need to improve this feature. Whereas, of course, right, if we're just releasing for the general public, right, then it's going to be beta testing. What we can say, maybe write the software, or, well, I guess write the game, or, okay, no, write the website. Yeah, the website, right, is made available, right, to a small number, right, a small number, no, right, small number of test users, Yeah, I guess who will sort of use the site. Yeah, I guess I don't know, sort of use the site as a regular user would. Right, and then we can say, let's see what bugs can be automatically submitted. Right, well, I guess automatically, right, or manually submitted. Right, as a regular user would. Yeah, okay, let's say maybe automatic. Right, let's say automatic bug reports may be implemented. Right, implemented. Let's say and options for, or I guess maybe a method. Right, for users to submit feedback. Right, should be available too. Right, users to submit feedback. Right, let's say should be made available. And then we can probably say be made available. And then we can probably say what any changes can be made right before the final version is released. Yeah, I know, right? Let's say this allows changes right to be made right before the final version is released to everyone. Right, final version is released to everyone. So I mean, you may be thinking like, how can they actually like test it, just on some users? Now, let's say for example, if it's a game or if it's some software, like you'll often notice, let's say it gives you a version, and I know maybe there's like version, I don't know, say 25.2 or something, right? Okay, or there's going to be like the beta version, and of course, well, I mean, let's say most users are probably just going to download the regular one, but of course, right, some users are going to download the beta version. And of course, like in this case, it's going to be the users deciding, right, whether which one they're downloading. And again, of course, there's going to be, like, say, automatic bug reports, right? There's going to be, obviously a method for user feedback, right? So with software and games, of course, that's how they can do it, right? I guess let the user make a choice. Now, generally for websites, you don't really see an option. I guess what okay, I don't know, let's say like a button, or like, do you want to see the normal version or the beta version? But what you could have is, you could have where the website automatically redirects, let's say, 10% of users, right, to the beta version. And I mean, I guess, a lot of websites do this. I think, technically, right, they call it A/B testing. So you're going to have, let's say, some of the users that are going to be in, sort of like pool A, right, maybe just the regular version. Of course, right, some of the users that are using, say, the beta version, right, then, of course, you just compare their experiences. Now, I notice actually, for example, YouTube does this a lot. Like, sometimes I'll be, like, randomly, just sort of watching YouTube, and I'll notice, for example, they've changed the user interface somehow. And then, like, when for example, when I open it in a different browser, or, when I open it the next day, right, then it's been changed back. So I think, this is what they're doing, right? They're just randomly selecting a kind of subset of users, to test out these new features. Right, okay, then a video conferencing program supports up to 6 users. Right, speech from each user is sampled and digitized, converted from analog to digital. Right, digital values are stored in array sample. The array sample consists of 6 rows by 128 columns. Right, and is of type integer. Each row contains 128 digitized sound samples from one user. Right, the digitized sound samples from each user are to be processed by a single value, which will be stored in a 1D array result of type integer. Right, this process will be implemented by procedure mix. Right, a procedure mix will calculate the average of these 6 sound samples in a column. Right, it's then going to ignore sound sample values of 10 or less. It's going to store the average value in the corresponding position result and repeat for each column in the array sample. Right, okay, the diagram uses example values to illustrate the process. Right, okay. So if we think here then, well, of course, right, the first column, right, they're all 20, right, therefore, the average is 20. If we see here, well, this 3 and 4 get ignored. And you might be thinking, well, like, I mean, so in this case, well, do we divide by 6? But if we look, well, since the result is 20, right, therefore, of course, well, the calculation they must be doing is, 80 divided by 4. So, of course, right, we're only going to divide by, right, how many valid yeah, how many valid, you know, inputs we have. And of course, right, well, valid ones are going to be what, more than 10. And then I guess, well, yeah, obviously we're just going to see some more examples here. Right, so what do we want to do? Well, just write pseudocode for mix and assume sample and result are global. So, well, okay, I will just say one thing with this. Now, usually with a 2D array, okay, we're going to loop what, I guess rows will be the outside loop. Yeah, then columns will be the inner loop. Now, if we think, well, of course, right, that's going to loop this way, right? It's going to loop kind of left to right. So of course it's going to go, you know, this one first, right, then this one, then this one. Of course, yeah, you know, right, all of these. Right, of course, when it then gets to the end, so when it gets to, you know, the final column, right, well, then it's going to go and it's going to start on, you know, row 2. Now, in this case, we actually want to loop what columns, then rows. So columns will be the outside, because what we're doing is, well, I mean, first we want to get all of these column values. And of course, yeah, of course, right, we're going to start on column 1. Right, then in column 1, then we're going to go to row 1, right, then we're going to row 2, right, then row 3, row 4, yeah, 5 and 6. So I think that's going to be a thing that can, you know, probably trick a lot of people up. Okay, so I've just gone to exam questions. Of course, yeah, find this particular question, right, 2023, yeah, this paper. Right, then, of course, well, I mean, here's going to give us the sample code. Right, let's go open in code editor. And, yeah, I'm not sure why that didn't work. Let me just reload again. Right, let's try, okay, there we go. Right, so what we want to do, yeah, okay. So right, well, here of course, right, we've got the sample and result, and in fact, let me just copy the instructions. Right, so it's going to be a procedure. Right, so let's go procedure. Yeah, this is mix. Right, it doesn't take any parameters, right, since, well, I mean, yeah, these two variables are global anyway. Right, then what we want to do, well, let's, hang on. Okay, yeah, let's go end procedure like this. Now, let's think then, what we're going to want two variables, right, one for the row and one for the column. So in fact, well, let's go column, right, then row, since we're looping through in this way. Right, I mean, do we really need a variable for average? I mean, probably not, because, you know, we can just, you know, directly assign it, to be honest. Although I guess we will need a right, we will need a total, of course, just storing the column total. Yeah, I think maybe that's going to be enough, and I'm not sure why I said 4. Right, let's go. Okay, right, let's go declare. Okay. Right, and well, let's just try and loop this then. So we want to go right for column. Right, that's going to be 1, and then we go right to 128. Alright, since there's 128 columns. Right, then what we can do, well, we want to reset the total to 0, because of course, yeah, obviously, well, when we start a new column, right, of course, yeah, we're, you know, obviously, well, resetting the total to 0. Right, then we want to loop through the rows in that column. So, right, let's go row, this will be 1, and then, well, I think there's 6 rows. Right, and then what we want to do, well, we want to check if it's greater than or equal to 10. Okay, no, sorry, greater than 10, because, yeah, obviously 10 or less should be ignored. And I have realised that we're also going to need a count. So let's say, I don't know, maybe like num valid. And then, yeah, we can set this number of valid to be 0. And I mean, this will just count well, how many are greater than 10. Of course, so we know how many to divide by. Right, so let's go if, and right, to get the current one, this is going to be sample. Right, and then, so, okay, in this case, like, even though here we're looping column row, okay, the actual sample array is still going to be row column. Yeah, I mean, so make sure that's correct. Right, if that's greater than 10, right, then what we want to do, well, I guess one, we just want to increment num valid. Right, then we just want to, what, add to the total. So that's going to be what, total plus, and then what, plus this sample value. Okay, I think, yeah, is that all we need to do? Right, then store the average value in the corresponding position. Yeah, okay. Right, so let's go next row, because, well, of course, right, we want to calculate the average right after we've looped through all 6 of these rows. So, right, okay, so result, and I guess what result is 128. Yeah, so result has 128, right, of course, yeah, each of the different columns. Right, so this is going to be, well, result column, and then I suppose, you know, of course, right, we need to round it. Yeah, because otherwise, of course, we could get a decimal with this. Right, so what that's going to be, it's going to be what, total divided by, and then the, well, number valid. Right, then if we just go next column, And then yeah, that should be all we need to do, because of course, well, it's a procedure, we don't need to return anything. Right, I think that's fine. Now, what I'm going to do, to be honest, yeah, okay, so I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to have a for loop just to actually output, right, just so we can test it. So let's go, what, row, or no, okay, right, no, this is column. Right, let's go 1, yeah, 1, 2, and then we want to say, what, this is 1 to 8. Right, then I'm just going to output the column, and let's just go have a space like that. And yeah, I guess then let's just have the value. So the value is going to be what the, okay, not sample, right, it's going to be results. Yeah, then this column. Right, let's go next column, and of course let's also make sure just to call this mix. Yeah, I think that should be okay, right, so let's try and run this. Right, okay, expected 2 arguments for round, yeah, so right, this takes the number of decimal places to round to, which of course is going to be 0 in this case, right, we just want whole numbers. Right, so saying the first one is 55. Now, of course, you know, my data is different here. Let's try and use the data they have. So they had, what, 20? Right, then they had 20 again. Right, then 20 again. Yeah, I think 20. Right, then it was, what, 3 and 4? So this should say 20 now for number 1. And yeah, we can see, right, this is 20. So, of course, you know, if you want it, you can test that more thoroughly. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's working. Right, okay, then 7. So a school has a computerized library system that allows students to borrow books for a fixed length of time. Right, the school uses text files to store details of students' books and loans. A new module is to be written which generates emails to each student who has an overdue book. Right, decomposition will be used to break down the problem of designing the new module into sub-problems. Right, okay, yeah, then we want to identify 3 program modules that could be used in the design and describe their use. So I guess, well, I mean, kind of an obvious one is just going to be what, send email. Because, yeah, of course, I mean, we're just talking here about generating emails, right? So, yeah, let's say, well, send email. Right, and then, well, the use, I guess, what, yeah, to take, I don't know, yeah, or I guess, well, okay, yeah, well, I mean, obviously, yeah, well, just to send an email. Right, let's say to send an email, right, to the relevant email address. Yeah, for that student. And of course, what we can say, yeah, with the relevant book details, or yeah, I guess what, with the overdue book details. Since I think, I mean, if you said use, well, to send an email, I mean, probably that's, you know, not specific enough. So yeah, I mean, let's just write sort of more detail here. You know, even though this is kind of stating the obvious, to be honest. And probably in the exam, you know, maybe you can think of more to write. Right, module 2, I mean, maybe we can say, for example, you know, check if overdue, because of course, yeah, or I guess you could say sort of find overdue books, right, to get a list of all the overdue books for that particular student. Yeah, I think let's say that maybe, all right, let's say get overdue books. Right, let's say, yeah, for student. I mean, that's obviously quite a long name, but yeah, it's also quite descriptive, right? It's quite obvious what it does. Right, let's say, I don't know, what, to get, or yeah, to return. Right, to get a, or let's say an array. I guess, yeah, we could say what, slash list. Yeah, of, right, all of the, I guess we could say, like, yeah, I know the ID, or yeah, just, you know, the overdue book IDs. Right, the overdue book details. Right, for a particular student. Right, for a particular student, and let's just give an example. Let's say, right, e.g., yeah, based on a student ID. And then I guess module 3, what you could say, I don't know, like get student details, and this could what, get their name, get their email address, yeah, I mean, get any other sort of relevant personal details. Yeah, okay, I mean, let's say that, right, get student details. Okay, so yeah, well, I mean, let's just say that, right, to get relevant student details. Right, let's say to get relevant student details, and let's say what in brackets, right, yeah, for those who have overdue books. Right, okay. Right, let's say, yeah, based on an ID. Or I guess, yeah, based on a student ID. Let's see what relevant details, or yeah, okay, let's say right details could include, and what we can probably think, I don't know, like name, email address. Yeah, I mean, like, is there anything else? Because I mean, something like telephone. I mean, you wouldn't really need to put their telephone number in an email. You know, of course, likewise, anything, you know, like sort of yeah, home address, right? Of course, that also doesn't really need to be included. So I think, yeah, name, email address are okay. All right, details could include name, email address. Yeah, let's see, yeah, and would be used. Well, of course, right, the email address as well. You know, who to send it to. Right, yeah, and would be used. And of course, what name is just to, I guess, just to address the email to the correct person. You know, just to sort of like formatting, right, to make it polite. Yeah, I guess, I don't know, right. Let's say to address. Yeah, the email. I don't know, yeah, or let's say to address the email introduction, right, to the correct person. And okay, well, let's give an example, right, e.g., let's say, like, what, dear, or yeah, like hello, or something. Or, well, let's say, right, to, I don't know, yeah, like Mr. Right, Smith, or something. Yeah, so I think that's okay. Right, then the program designer produces a structure chart for the new module. Part of the structure chart is shown. Right, explain the relationship between the four modules. So of course, what we say A, well, A is going to repeatedly, and the reason it's repeatedly is because, well, we have this loop arrow. Right, A is going to repeatedly call what module B, C, and D. So I think, yeah, that's all we have to say. Right, so module A, right, is going to repeatedly, and actually, like, yeah, okay, I mean, like, don't just say, right, it's going to repeatedly call the three sub-modules or something. Like, because actually in other papers they've actually wanted you to write the entire name, which is, I mean, it's kind of annoying. But yeah, if you didn't write the exact name, right, they actually wouldn't give you the marks. Right, it's going to repeatedly call, yeah, the three modules, or the, yeah, I guess the three sort of, you know, child modules or sub-modules. And yeah, let's go what module B. Right, so yeah, module, right, module C and module D. Yeah, so I think that's okay. Right, two new modules added, module X and Y. Right, module X has no parameters. Module Y will take a string and a real number as parameters and return a Boolean value. Right, module D will either call X or module Y. Right, draw only the part of the structure chart that represents the relationship between module, well, yeah, X, Y, and D. Right, so these three modules. Okay, so we said, right, okay, well, module D is right, this one here. So, right, let's just draw this then. So, right, this is going to be module D. Right, then it says, well, it's going to be on a condition. Yeah, right, so it's going to call either X or Y. Right, so to represent a condition, right, it's just going to be, yeah, it's just going to be what the diamond. And I mean, yeah, in here we don't really have to write any text, right, since we actually, well, obviously, yeah, we don't know anything about this condition. So let's say, right, this one. Okay, well, let's go here, right, this can be X. And I mean, right, so module X, well, that's going to be a procedure, right, it's not returning anything, right, also has no parameters, right, that's quite simple. Yeah, I realise I probably should have given myself more space here. Right, so this is module Y, and we say, right, this takes a string and real numbers as parameters. So right, let's just draw, well, alright, that's going to be a string, right, there's going to be another one, yeah, that's going to be a real. And since it doesn't tell us their names, right, then yeah, we can just leave it empty, right, it doesn't tell us the identifier names. Right, and then what it's going to return a Boolean. So of course, what a Boolean, right, we're just going to fill in a circle like this, and then yeah, draw that coming back. Right, then the last one, a computer shop assembles computers using items bought from several suppliers. A text file stock.txt contains information about each item. Right, information for each item is stored as a single line in stock.txt. Right, in the format where item num supply code description. Okay, item num is 4 numeric characters. It's unique for each item in the range, well, sort of 0001, right, to 5999, right, inclusive. Supply code, right, 5 alphabetic characters. Right then, well, description, a string, which is a minimum of 12 characters. Right, the file is organized in ascending order of item num and does not contain all possible values in the range. Right, okay, so of course, yeah, maybe you have like sort of 0001, but then you don't have 0002. Yeah, because I don't know, maybe that item is being removed or something. Right, a program has started to define program modules as follows. Right, so supplier exists called with a parameter of type string representing a supply code, and it returns true if the supply code is already in use, otherwise returns false. Right, then is new supplier, that's called with a parameter of type string representing a new supply code. It's going to return true if the string only contains alphabetic characters, right, either upper or lowercase. Right, and the supply code is not already in use, right, otherwise returns false. Okay, alright, and then, well, let's go down. Right, so, well, write pseudocode for module is new supplier. Module supplier exists and has already been written and should be used as part of your solution. Module supplier exists will generate a runtime error if the given parameter is not 5 characters in length. Again, then I've just opened this here, and of course, if we go open in code editor, yeah, just to open this question. Right, let's just paste the instructions. And okay, as you see, well, I mean, here's just an example file, which actually I think this is for part B, right? It's not for this question. Right, so is new supply, this is going to be a function. Right, it's going to have a parameter representing a new supply code. So let's go, yeah, new supply code, or yeah, new supplier ID. Right, that's going to be of type string, and it's going to return, right, so let's go returns boolean. Oh man, right, yeah, let's go end function. Right, so what do we want to do? We want to return true if the string, right, yeah, only contains alphabet. Okay, hang on, right, yeah, alphabetic characters. Right, yeah, either uppercase or lowercase, and supply code is not already in use. And I think, I mean, if we do go back to the question, it said what, that it also has to be more than 5 characters. Right, so let's think then what we need to declare, because, well, when we're looping through, right, we're going to need an index. We're probably going to need a current character, because, of course, we need to check what is the current character. Yeah, I mean, is it a sort of, yeah, alphabetic character, or is it a letter or not? And then, yeah, maybe that's going to be enough. So let's just try and write some of it. And of course, if we have to go back, yeah, then I'll just declare later. Of course, yeah, that's why in the exam, right, always, you know, give yourself at least a couple of lines, right, between, you know, each kind of block. So here, well, first we just want to check if the length of new supply code is not equal to 5. Right, since if this is, well, not equal to 5, and I think that's what it says, right? Yeah, so runtime error if it's not 5 characters in length. Right, so if it's not equal to 5, well, then we can just return false. Since, yeah, of course, well, that's going to be invalid. Right, then the other one is if the supply code already exists. So we can call this if supplier exists. Right, this takes, well, the supply code. And what if this equals true. Yeah, okay, right, so yeah, if this equals true, right, then of course, well, we're going to return false. Since, well, of course, right, if the supply code does exist, right, well, that means then it's not a new supplier. Right, and then I think here, well, let's just loop through, and we can just check what if the current character is, yeah, obviously, well, yeah, I guess, right, if the current character is not equal to a letter. So, right, let's go 4, and, right, this time again, we'll just go index, this will be 1, and, I mean, I suppose, well, we can just go to 5, right, since we know it's going to be 5, because, of course, well, if it's not 5, right, then we would have returned false already. Right, then we can go current character, and that's going to be mid, right, just like we did before. Okay, this will be the new supply code. It's then going to be the index, right? That's the sort of, yeah, starting position. Right, then we want 1 character. Then there's a few ways we can check, you know, if it's within this range. Yeah, or maybe actually I'm going to check if it's outside the range, because well, if it's outside the range, we can just return false. So we could just go, what if current character is what, less than, and I suppose, right, we will actually need to convert this. Let's convert it to lowercase. Yeah, since I guess probably, yeah, okay, right, it says it can be uppercase or lowercase. Right, so we can say, well, if current character is what less than, let's go what less than small a, because if we think, well, of course, right, small a, well, the ASCII for that is 97, right? Therefore, if the current character has a lower ASCII value, than the ASCII value for small a, right? Then, of course, what that means, right, it's not going to be, it's not going to be a lowercase letter. Right, then we can have an or, right? So or current char, what is greater than, right, greater than small z, right? Well, then what we want to do, we just want to return false. I'll also show you the other way, how to do it. I think it's using, ASC. Right, and then let's go next index. And then I guess, right, if we've looped through everything, right, of course, if we've not returned false, right, so of course, if we've not found like an invalid letter or non-letter, right, therefore, of course, well, that must mean it should be true. So right, let's try and test all of these then. So you can see here, for example, well, 5A's, right, that's going to be an example supplier code. So let's try and test all the different scenarios. Right, one can be, let's say what we only have 4 characters, right, of course that's going to say false, or that's going to return false. Right, if we also go, what, 5A's, well, this should also be false, since this, already exists. But if we try A, B, C, D, then I think, well, this one doesn't exist. Right, let's run this. And okay, right, we get false, false, true, right, so I think this is working. Now, let's just demonstrate the other way to do this then. And I mean, this one is probably a bit more complex, right? We'd actually have to use the, I guess what we'd have to use the actual ASCII values. So we can say, right, if current char, well, less than 97, but what we need to do, well, we need to convert that into the, I think, is it ASCII? Okay, right, so ASCII, right, this takes a character, then returns the integer, obviously just the ASCII code. So we say, what if the ASCII value of current char is less than 97, and again, I mean, this is basically what we've just been doing, right, and then, or the ASCII, right, of current char is greater than, then, well, for small z, right, that's going to be 122, because, well, to go from A to Z, we just have to plus 25. And of course, people might think, well, there's 26 letters, right? Why don't we plus 26? But of course, if you think, well, if A is 95, right, then of course, what B is going to be 96. So if you think, like, okay, even though B is like the second letter, well, actually, it's only the start index plus 1, right? Therefore, if Z is the 26th letter, right, that's going to be what these. Hang on, right? It's not 95, right? It's 97. Right, therefore Z is going to be what the start index, and then plus 25. I think since I was saying 25, I was thinking 95, right? Just getting confused. Like, as you can probably tell, speaking and coding is a little tricky sometimes. Multitasking. Well, again, right, let's test that, but okay, you see, it just gives us the same result. Right then, the next one, a new module has been defined, check new item, called with a parameter or type string representing a line of item information. It then checks to see whether an item with the same item number already exists. Right, it's going to return true if the item num is not in the file, otherwise returns false. Right, and we want to write efficient pseudocode for check new item. Right, okay, so I mean, if we just go back here to the description, right, it tells us here the file is organized in ascending order of item num and does not contain all possible values in the range. So this means, okay, let's say we're looking for, I don't know, item number like 100. So I guess, 0, 100. Right, then of course, if, as we're looping through the file, right, if we find an item number that's greater than 100, well then of course we know that obviously our item number of 100 doesn't exist. Right, since if it did existed, well, of course, I mean, we would have found it already, right, since it's in ascending order. So I think that's going to be the efficient thing it's asking for. And I mean, I think that's basically all we have to do. And of course, just read the file line by line. Right, so let's copy this, check new item. Let's just go function then, and this is going to be check new item. Right, and then this is going to have a parameter type string. Right, this is going to be line. Right, so let's go. Right, not string set, just string. Right, only one parameter, and let's go returns, and this is going to be Boolean. Right, okay, so what we want to think then, we want to think, I guess what we want one variable to represent the, I guess what let's say the item ID in the file. And I guess what another variable to represent this line item ID. So yeah, let's go right line item ID. Right, also let's go file item ID. Right, they're both going to be strings. And I suppose, I mean, since we're reading this file, of course, we're also going to need a, I guess, line. But yeah, since this parameter is called line, I guess let's call it file line. Right, I mean, let's also make a constant, and I mean, yeah, we could do the constant at the top, right? It doesn't really matter. Right, the constant, this would just be the file name, and what that's going to be stock txt. Now, I'm thinking like, yeah, we might have it where, like maybe we can make a boolean, right? And that can of course just represent what if the, right? Let's say if the file item ID. Well, yeah, let me think of this. Right, of course, well, it should continue looping, right? If the file item ID is less than the line item ID, because yeah, if the line item ID is less, right? Well, then of course that means we've passed it already, and yeah, of course we've not found it. Right, so let's go, yeah, declare, and I guess what I know, like continue, or yeah, sort of continue looping. Right, I think yeah, that should be all we need probably. Right, let's go. Yeah, okay, let's go open file. So the file we want to open is going to be file name. Right, of course, well, the mode is going to be for read. Right, let's think the line item ID. So the line item ID we can calculate. And what we said, that's going to be the 4 leftmost characters. Right, so I think if we go back to the document here, yeah, right, that's 4 numeric characters. And of course, right, that's also, yeah, on the left. Right, and then right, the file line, I mean, yeah, we can't get, okay, well, let's go continue, and right, let's just assign this to be true. So I think the loop, well, there's going to be 2 conditions. One is going to be, well, while not end of file, and right, of course, that's going to be the file name. Right, and then also, yeah, I guess, well, continue equals true. So, okay, well, while both these conditions, right, okay, yeah, let's just have that while loop. And then what we want to do, what we want to read the file, okay, this is going to be file name. Right, let's read that into the file line. And then what we want, right, I guess then, well, let's actually, yeah, let's assign this file item ID. So again, as we did before, right, that's just going to be left. This time it's going to be the file line. And right, let's go for like this. Right, then I guess, well, we can check if they're equal. So, right, let's go if, and we will go, yeah, well, if file item ID is equal to the line item ID. Right, then if it is, well, I mean, one thing we actually need to do is we need to close the file. So yeah, I mean, don't forget this, right? Close file, and then, well, let's just go return. And then, right, so if they're equal, well, this is then going to return, yeah, this is going to return false, right? Because of course, well, this means it's not a new item. Right, I think then we can have an else. And then in the else, well, this can be, yeah, okay, well, let's think of the way. So what it's going to be if the line item ID is less than the file item ID, right? I think, yeah, that means we've gone past it. Yeah, hang right, is that correct? So let's say the line is, I don't know, like say file 5, or yeah, I guess, yeah, item 5. But if we're on, say, the file is, I don't know, maybe item 10. Yeah, right, yeah, then of course, right, that means we've gone past it. Right, so yeah, if we, it's going to be this one, right? If the file ID, or yeah, the file item ID is bigger, right, then it means, right, let's go continue, that's going to be false. Yeah, okay. Yeah, and then, right, let's go end if like this. And then I think outside the while loop, but again, right, first of course, we just want to close the file. Right, then we can just return true, because of course, well, in this case, it means we haven't found it. Right, therefore that means of course it is going to be a new item. Right, so let's test this, because yeah, this one's a little tricky. Right, so check new item, and I guess, okay, right, so here we actually need the whole line, right, not just, yeah, not just, right, so I'm just going to copy this. Right, so this should say false, because, well, of course, right, 0001, right, that does exist. Okay, right, so this is just a variable name. Okay, right, I'm just going to call it continue looping. Of course, in the exam this doesn't matter. But, I mean, well, okay, let's say, right, since the website is using JavaScript, it's just saying, well, since JavaScript has a keyword called continue, right, therefore we can't use this keyword, yeah, in our program. Right, let's try again. And yeah, in fact, let me just delete these ones, or well, just comment those out. So of course, right, if we run that, it says false. Yeah, okay, so that makes sense because of course, right, this item does exist here. Right, let's try 2 because, well, 2 shouldn't exist. So this should say true. Yeah, and what I'm going to do, I'm also just going to output the file line because in theory it should read this one. I guess it's also going to read this one, and then once it notices that this is too big, right, then it should just stop. So yeah, let's just go output here. Right, this is going to be the file line, and yeah, hopefully it's only going to output 2. Yeah, okay, all right. And of course, you know, if I don't know, okay, let's say we just get rid of this, right? Then of course it's going to output all of the lines. Yeah, all right. So I think yeah, this one seems to be okay. Right, and then yeah, we did that one. Okay, so the program module supplier exists, is new supplier, and check no item are part of a group of modules that are combined to create a complete stock control program. Each module in the program is tested individually during development and is debugged as necessary. Right, it's then added to the program and further testing is performed. Identify this method of testing. Right, okay, so what if they're sort of developed and tested individually while during development, and then of course you just sort of let's say stick them all together, right, combine them all together at the end. Right, that's going to be what integration testing. So again, integration, well, this means, right, you develop, let's say, all of the different modules, right, all of the different, say, program features, individually. Then, yeah, obviously at the end, right, sort of stick everything together. Yeah, and of course, test that it works together. And I mean, realistically, this is probably not going to work. Yeah, in many cases. Yeah, obviously, depends on how good your sort of planning and testing strategy was. Right, but well, one of the modules does not work properly when it's added to the program. Right, describe a testing method that can be used to address this problem so that testing can continue and other modules can be added. Right, so if you're familiar with the book, it says that if some parts of the program are not fully implemented, but you just want to sort of ignore those, well, then you can use stub testing. And stub testing, I mean, I think they say like a dummy, yeah, let's say a dummy implementation. So for example, I don't know, maybe we want something to like return some user details. Now, rather than, for example, like let's say go into the database, right, fetching those user details, you could just obviously just return some like fake user details, but of course like in the correct format. Just as testing data basically. Right, a dummy implementation. Yeah, I guess that will work. Yeah, I guess that will sort of work with the rest of the program. Right, let's say that will work with the rest of the code. Right, and I guess what maybe allows. I don't know, like allows it to sort of function without crashing. Yeah, I think that's probably not the best kind of description, but I mean, hopefully people know what I mean. Right, function without crashing. And I suppose, I mean, really, you don't even need like a dummy implementation with like sort of fake fake return results, or fake data. You could literally have something that's just say like a print line, or sort of your output statement. Yeah, I mean, well, let's see. I guess maybe alternatively, or yeah, maybe, yeah, I guess alternatively. Although it's not really alternatively because this is also stub testing. I mean, yeah, I want to say or, like, even though, well, I guess, right, we should never really start a sentence with or. But yeah, I mean, let's just do it anyway. Alright, yeah, or a simple, or let's say a simple output statement could be used. Yeah, instead of the module body. Yeah, right, instead of the module body. And I guess, I mean, well, since it says describe, I mean, let's say, right, to let us know. What to let us know, right, we, I guess, yeah, we called this module. Yeah, but, but again, right, but the program, wouldn't crash, basically. Alright, and then, yeah, so I think the last one. Right, a new module add item will be used, right, to add information to stock.txt. right, state the file mode that should be used for the algorithm within this module. Right, so file modes, what there's going to be, well, I mean, for AS, there's going to be 3, right, for A level, there's 4. Right, so of course, what, read, write, or append. Now, if we're adding a new item to a stock file, right, of course, that's going to be append. Yeah, so of course, I guess you can write in lowercase. I mean, if you want, you could write in uppercase, right, since it's a keyword in pseudocode. Then finally, a new module find item searches for a given item in the stock txt file, which is already organized in ascending order of item num. Right, describe how this organization may improve the efficiency of the algorithm. So I mean, this is like what we've just done, right? Where of course we say if it's organized in ascending order, then what if the item num that we are searching for is less than the item num in the file, right? Then of course, well, that means we've passed it, right? Therefore, of course, we can stop. So yeah, let's say that maybe. Yeah, I'm trying to think how best to word this, for 3 marks. Let's say. Yeah, maybe we can compare. Yeah, all right. Yeah, let's say we can compare. Right, the item num. I guess what? Yeah, the item. Yeah, okay, right, item num. Right, we are searching for. Right, with the one of the current line. Yeah, let's say right with the. Right, let's see what item num. Right, for the current line. Right, let's say what if equal. Right, let's say yeah, if equal. Then I guess what return the item. Right, yeah, if equal, then return. Right, okay, well, return the item. Right, let's say else. Right, so here we say, well, else if the. I know, yeah, well, let's say, right, if our item num, or yeah, I guess what if the search item num. Right, so if the search item num. Right is, and we say, yeah, should this be bigger or smaller? Right, so let's say if we're searching for 5 and the current line is 3, right, well, of course, yeah, that means we've gone past it. Right, so if the item num is bigger, right, bigger, yeah, than the item num in the file, right, then we can stop searching. Yeah, okay. Right, yeah, then we can stop searching. Right, let's say, yeah, stop searching, yeah, I guess what, and return early. Or, yeah, return from the module early. Right, return early. Yeah, since we know the item. Right, since we know the item doesn't exist. Right, yeah, since we know the item doesn't exist in the file. Right, okay, and then I guess what there's also going to be another else, right, and of course, well, this else, well, I mean, this is just, yeah, if we haven't passed the item yet, so, right, else we just say, well, continue searching, or, yeah, okay, right, let's say, yeah, else, yeah, I know, sort of, continue searching, yeah, the sort of, I guess what well, obviously, yeah, the next line in the file, yeah, I know, right, well, let's say, yeah, else search the next line in the file. Just continue reading the file. Alright, anyway, guys, so I think, yeah, let me just check. Yeah, okay, right, so I think, yeah, that's the last question. I mean, as always then, of course, well, hopefully this video is useful. Any questions, you can just ask in the comments, and see you again in the next video.